welcome to my new video about Advanced Squad Leader. In this series I'm going to show you the basics of the rules of the Advanced Squad Leader, which is still my favorite wargame system ever made. I am playing this game since some time, and still I can say that that I mastered the rules. I don't know if there are many people who can say they mastered the rules, but still I enjoyed this game a lot, and I would like to share this joy with you. So this is, I think, fourth of my videos about the basics of a full Advanced Squad Leader, not a starter kit but a full Advanced Squad Leader. And today I am going to play Shklovs Labors Lost. This is another of the scenarios that were published by the Multiman publishing site, so you can get it for free from the publisher site. And these scenarios are called tournament scenarios because they are pretty quick, pretty easy, and they were designed to be played at the Advanced Squad Leader tournaments. And I think this is a great scenario for our next step, since it introduces some new stuff: vehicles and anti-tank vehicles. So we are going to find some new rules in this game, but we are going to play on the already well-known board number 1, which you may remember from some of our previous scenarios like the Guards Counterattack or Tractor Works. But the most important thing we are going to learn today is vehicles. We are not going to use many of them. Actually this scenario comes with only 2 Shklovs that were most popular and probably the best German self-propelled guns, designed to provide some direct support to the German infantry during the heavy fights among enemy in the cities or in the fortifications. And they did very well. They were very liked by the German infantry, and they were in use till the end of the World War II. And we are going to use 2 of them in this scenario, so it will allow us to check how the vehicles rules are used in this game. Advanced Squad Leader is infantry-based game, of course. I think the title says it quite clearly, but there is a lot of scenarios with various vehicles: tanks, self-propelled guns, trucks, cars, armored cars, and any other stuff like that. So it is pretty important to learn the rules about all this stuff, even if sometimes they might seem not very easy. I think self-propelled guns are very good for that because they are, well, pretty easy to handle. So let's go. So let's check these vehicle counters and see what we can learn from them. First, this shape in the upper right corner tells us what kind of vehicle it is. If it's egg-like, just like this one, this means that it is a fully tracked vehicle. So any kind of tank, armored, self-propelled gun, or any other vehicle that has such a egg shape, wide around its movement points, then this is fully tracked vehicle. But of course, that's not all. That's not everything. There are armored cars. If a vehicle has white circle in this part of the counter, then this means that this is armored car, just like this German famous Puma. If it's both an egg and white circled close to each other, then this is half-track, like this Polish half-track. You can see this is a vehicle that uses both wheels and tracks. Or if there are 2 wheels next to each other, this kinda 8-like shape, then this is a truck. This means that such vehicle is not always a truck by itself. So, for example, we have this German Jeep KVZ1, but as for the movement purpose, such vehicles are treated like trucks. Next, we have movement points, like I said before, and sometimes they can be red, like, for example, on this König Tiger tank. If such movement points are red, this means that such vehicle suffers from the mechanical mechanical issues, and before you will start a roll, you have to make a roll with before you will start a movement, you have to make a roll with your die to see if you do not suffer problems with your engine. Next, we have a letter. Same thing that we had with our infantry counters, but when it comes to the vehicles, especially armored vehicles with guns, then this letter is pretty important. Next, our vehicle silhouette. It can be sometimes pretty important, because if it is all white, like for example this German car, then this means that vehicle is open-topped. This means that it has no armor on the top. Some vehicles, like for example this German self-propelled flak gun, are partially armored. This means you can see that the front of this vehicle is dark, while the back is white. This means that this part is open-topped and this one is closed-topped. But in fact, most of our vehicles are are fully armored, just like these vehicles, because you can see there are no white parts on them. Next, we have their armor, their weapon. Sorry, they use 75mm gun with rate of fire 1. This is probably not the best gun if you want to fight against enemy tanks, but it works quite well if you are going to fight against enemy infantry, just like here. Of course, there can be a lot of different weapons that can be placed on our vehicles. For example, this Tiger I mentioned before, you can see it has 88 LL gun. This LL means that this is a very long gun, and because of that it can fire on a really long range. Sometimes our vehicle also has this 4 in brackets next to its name. This means that this gun has an infantry firepower equivalent. Normally you have to make 2 rolls to score a hit on of the gun. First to hit and then to kill a roll. But if a gun has such a number in brackets next to its caliber, this means that this weapon can be used just like infantry firepower. And this number that is weapons firepower. It happens mostly when we are using light guns. For example, 20mm light guns on the German tanks. They often have this infantry firepower equivalent, but none of our guns has such thing. There is an asterisk next to its caliber. It is used to check if we get any modifier firing on the higher range. But we are going to have some city combat in this scenario, so we are probably not going to use it anyway. Next, some of our vehicles have also machine guns. None of them have, and that was probably one of the major issues of Shklovs. They had no direct anti-infantry weapons. they had to be protected by their own infantry. Later, a lot of such vehicles get machine guns, so they could defend themselves against enemy infantry coming close to them. But a lot of units have their machine guns, and let's return to our King Tiger, because it has all three types of machine guns. First of them is a bow machine gun, next is coaxial machine gun, and next is anti-air machine gun. What it means? A bow machine gun is a machine gun which was installed in the vehicle's hull, somewhere here, and it would fire directly in the same direction as vehicle is. Next is coaxial machine gun. It was installed in the turret next to its gun, next to its main gun, and it could fire in the same direction as turret is placed. And finally, anti-air machine gun. It was mounted on the top of the turret mostly, sometimes at the rear of the turret, but it was pretty rare, and it could be fired from the turret in the same direction than turret was directed, sometimes even not, but that's, well, pretty complicated stuff. Some vehicles also has rear machine gun. Rear machine gun was installed in the back of the turret, and it could fire in the direction opposite to the turret. But in this scenario, we don't have to care about these machine guns, because none of our vehicles has any machine guns. So next, here we have the armor factors. There are two factors. First, upper is for the front armor, while lower is for side and rear armor. Sometimes, when a vehicle has a turret, just like here, let's return to our King Tiger, we have also a wheel or a square all over the number. If there is a wheel, this means that turret has one level less armor factor, and if it's a square, then it means that the turret has one level up armor factor. What it means? Armor factors can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 11, 14, 18 and 26. So, for example, this Tiger has front armor of 26, which is highest armor rate possible, and you can see it is in a square. This means that its turret has an armor factor of 18, and here its side and rear armor is 8, but because there is a square, this means that its turret has its armor factor of 11, because there is a square. Next, you can see that there is a small white circle around its front armor. This means that this vehicle is small target. When a vehicle is a small target, it is harder to hit, of course. Vehicle can be sometimes even very small target. For example, let's take this German Jeep. You can see that there are two white circles, both around front armor and the side armor. This means that such vehicle is very small target. If the upper armor factor is red, this means that it is a big vehicle, and if both armor factors are red, this means that it is very big vehicle. When it is very big vehicle or big vehicle, then it is of course easier to hit. For example, here we have a big vehicle with its upper armor factor red, and here we have a very big vehicle with both armor factors red. Sometimes vehicle might be unarmored. If it has stars saved to the armor factors, like these vehicles, then this means that it has no armor. It can be hit by and it can be damaged with normal infantry firepower weapons. But if vehicle has an armor factor, even if it's 0, just like here, then it is not possible to damage such a weapon, such a vehicle with a normal infantry fire. So they wouldn't be able to hit this German car. They would be able to do it if they would even any kind of weapon that might make anti-armor fire, even medium or heavy machine gun. But with their normal firepower, they wouldn't be able to hit this car. But if it is a vehicle without armor factor, then this means that they are able to score a hit and damage such vehicles. Just like with normal armor factors, you can see that we have different colors telling us if it is small, very small, big or very big vehicle. And finally, a turret. I talked about turrets a bit, but we have various types of turrets. First, vehicle might just have no turret, just like these Shklovs. They have their guns installed in their hull, and because of if unit has no any kind of circle or square around its silhouette, this means that such a vehicle is turretless. Some vehicles have fast turret traverse. This means that they can move their turret very fast, and because of that they suffer no negative modifiers with moving their turret, which is sometimes very important. If there is a circle around vehicle silhouette, just like here, this means that such a vehicle has fast turret traverse. If there is thin white square around vehicle's shape, this means that such vehicle has slow turret traverse. This is usually two-man turret, and it's still pretty good. Despite its name, it is still pretty good and easy to handle. Our problem starts if a vehicle has restricted slow turret traverse. For example, this Polish 7TP. If there is a thick white square around vehicle silhouette, this means that this is restricted slow turret traverse. This is usually one-man turret, and if you have such a turret, then you cannot fire with your main weapon if your commander is in the crew exposed status. So, if commander is looking from the turret, then you cannot fire your weapon. He has to go inside and fire the weapon, or he might go outside and look around, but if he's looking around, he cannot fire with his weapon. If the vehicle has thick square around it, but without corners, just like this Renault 17 tank, then this means that it has one-man turret. One-man turret is mostly just like restricted slow turret, but it comes with some additional negative penalties, especially when such turret is hit. It is much easier to have your tanks being stunned or recalled when you have one-man turret. So this is definitely not something you would like to use, but it is quite often at the early stage of the war. Later it is pretty rare, but it is quite often to meet with any kind of light tanks, reconnaissance tanks, and any kind of outdated tanks from the 20s or early 30s. And sometimes your vehicle might have secondary armament, just like here with this French B1B. you can see that it has two kinds of weapons. It has B-75 and 47. What it means? B-75 means that it has 75 gun in its bow. So this is not a gun that can fire from the turret, but it is installed in the vehicle's hull. And 47 gun is installed in this heavy tank turret. So yes, B1B can be really a monster, and it was one of the biggest threats for the German tanks during the 1940 campaign. Next is a ground pressure. If the ID letter is not in any circle or square, this means that such vehicle has normal ground pressure. If it is in the circle, just like with this Tiger, then this means that such vehicle has a high ground pressure, or it is in the square, like in this Polish TKS Tankette, then this means that it has low ground pressure. You can already tell that vehicles with low ground pressure are usually very small, very light, so they might have issues while moving in the certain terrain, while such vehicles that are heavy might have issues with moving in any other certain terrain. So this is pretty important to remember about it. Now let's take a look on the other side of the counter. This is called wreck side. If our vehicle is destroyed, it is flipped on that side. We have an icon of the wreck here and some additional informations. Sometimes there is really a lot of information on the other side. For example, on this Shklovs B1B French tank, you can see there is a really a lot of information. Sometimes there are almost no informations, like for example on this German Jeep KVZ1, you have it doesn't even have a wreck silhouette. This means that if it's destroyed, then it even does not create any wreck. Why it is important? Because wreck might block your movement when you are moving down the road with a wreck, and it can provide some other things. And when there is no wreck silhouette, then this means that such vehicle is not even creating a wreck when it is destroyed. So now let's take a look on the other side of the counter. First, we have a couple of informations about special ammo here. As you probably remember, when it comes to the guns and other weapons, most of them has ammo depletion numbers. There are no number of the year here, but instead all the kind of special ammo needs some result to be used. We can normally use high explosive ammunition without any kind of roll, but if we want to use high explosive anti-tank ammo, smoke ammo or armor piercing ammo, we have to get this special result on the die roll. We also know that this vehicle is armored with smoke dispenser and its crew survival rate is 4. What it means? Smoke dispenser allows you to create a smoke on your own hex. It's kind of smoke screen that provides some protection for your vehicle. Crew survival rate is a number that you have to roll if your vehicle is destroyed, but it is not burning, and you can make a roll. If you get a result which is equal or less than the crew survival rate, you are allowed to place crew counter on the given hex. This means that crew survived destruction of their vehicle, and it still can be used on the game. As you can see, crews are not very impressive when it comes to their factors, but sometimes even they might be put into some use. Of course, there is often a lot more information on the counter. For example, here we have a Polish Renault 17 tank, and you can see that it says that it has road rate no available and crew exposed +1 RT. And I'm not going to talk about all this stuff because it would be useless for now, but I would point this R in the circle. If the vehicle has such a mark, this means that this vehicle is radioless. You are going to hate radioless vehicles, trust me. They are mostly used in the first part of the war. About 1942 it is really hard to find any radioless vehicles on the battlefield, maybe on the Russian side sometimes, but in the early stage of the war they are quite often, and they are really annoying because they have a lot of issues when it comes to their movement. But we don't have to care about it now, because I think all of 99% of the German vehicles have a radio since the beginning of the war. So that's all of the vehicles. So let's summarize it. So our Stück 3B is a tank because of this white shape here. It has movement points of 14. It has 75 mm gun with a rate of fire of 1. Its front armor is 6. Its side and rear armor is 3. It is close-topped vehicle. It has normal ground pressure. It has no machine guns. It is non-turreted vehicle because of any circle or square around it. It has crew survival rate of 4, and if it wants to use high explosive anti-tank ammo, it needs to get 6. If it wants to fire smoke shells, it needs 9 or less. If it wants to use armor piercing ammo, it needs 7 or less. And if it wants to use its smoke dispenser, it needs to roll 7 or less. So that's our vehicles, and let's take a look on the other stuff we are going to use in this scenario, because we have some other things. First, we have elite units of both sides. So we have this amazing 4, 5, 8 Soviet squads. They are definitely among the best Soviet units you can get. They have good firepower, nice range of fire, and very good morale. Also, we have one commissar and one 10-3 commander. Like always, Soviets lack of the commanders when it comes to the number, but at last they have one of those best. Next, we have heavy machine gun. It has it has firepower of 6, which is very good, and a range of fire and a range 12. Its rate of fire is also amazing. It is 3, and it is pretty heavy. It has 5 portage points. And finally, we have anti-tank rifle. This is the only anti-tank weapon that Soviets have in this game. You can use your machine guns among enemy vehicles, but well, they are working mostly when it comes to the very weak vehicles with the thin armor. Not much about this Stück. And anti-tank rifle is probably their best anti-tank weapon in this scenario, even if it's already quite obsolete. As for Germans, we have another great unit with 4, 6, 8. So they are quite similar to the Soviet squads, same to the fact that they have smoke exponent of 2, their range of fire is 6, which is not going to be very important thing in the city combat, and they have assault fire ability. Next, we have this great commander with 10-3, 2 very good commanders with 9-2 and 9-1, machine guns, light machine guns, and we have elite tank leaders. Tank leaders are very useful. They work mostly like normal commanders, but they work for the tanks only. So they cannot rally any of your troops and so, but they can provide some nice modifiers to your tank. On the other side of the commanders of the leaders counter, we have an information on to what kind of rolls and checks you are going to use his modifiers. So, to hit, die roll, morale check, overrun, close combat, cooldown maneuver, and block removal. For any of these actions, you might use this -1 modifier of the commander, which is pretty good. So that's all when it comes to the units we are going to use. There are no special rules for this scenario. Let's check. Environmental conditions are moderate, with no wind at start, and nothing at all. We know this board already pretty well, since we played 2 scenarios on it already, so nothing new about it. Everything we learned so far is going to be used, and that's all when it comes to the preparation stuff. Now let's go to the setup. So here is my setup. This road is actually a border between Soviets and Germans, and Soviets are setting up first. They know that Germans are superior when it comes to the firepower, so they left only a few units on the first line, placing most of them on the second and on the third line, where they will be better protected from the first fire of the furious firepower of German units. And Soviet goal is to not to keep all these buildings they need. There are 5 buildings that Germans have to capture to win this game, but to slow down German advance, maybe to kill some Germans, and to keep at last one of these buildings till the end of the game. If they will manage to do so, they are victorious. As for Germans, the spearhead of their force are 2 Shtuks. They are pretty good in the city combat. They just need to be moved on the proper position to fire their guns. Soviets lack of the good anti-tank weapons. All they have is one anti-tank rifle, which can be useful against armored cars or weak vehicles, but Shtuks should be rather safe. From this, maybe if it would be able to hit Shtuk from the rear aspect or side aspect, then maybe it might damage this vehicle. Otherwise, I think that the biggest threat for them might be infantry fire against their crews that are starting crew exposed. So my goal is to use my firepower to destroy every Soviet position and to move swiftly and to capture all these buildings. I hope I will be able to do so. So now, before we will start the game, let's check for concealment possibility. As for Germans, I don't care for concealment because I'm going to move as quick as I can, so I'm not even going to check it out. But as for Soviets, this is pretty important thing to check. Well, how it works. Every unit that starts the game in the concealment terrain, and it starts in the 17 hexes range from the enemy, gains concealment instantly. Well, we don't have such an opportunity because all the Soviet units are starting way too close to Germans. But there is one more rule that says, if your unit starts the game in the 16 hexes range or less from the enemy, and it starts the game in the concealment terrain, and it is not in the line of sight of enemy, it might get concealment counter. So let's check which ones of the Soviet forces units are starting not in the enemy line of sight. I bet this squad starts not in the line of sight of any German unit, so it might be marked with concealment counter. Same goes to them. No one can see them here, so they gain concealment. As for them, I think this gun, which is crew exposed, might be able to see them, but I'm not sure, so I would rather check it out. Nope, this building blocks a line of sight, so they also gain concealment marker. And anyone else? They can be seen, 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 and them, I believe they get concealment marker. So that's all when it comes to concealment, and we can start our game. We are starting with rally phase, and first of all we need to make a roll for the wind change. This wind change is something I really love to forget about. In fact, it is pretty important in the scenarios where there is a lot of fire, a lot of flames and so on. So it is pretty rarely used, but this is a good habit to remember about it. So let's make a roll. 12, no wind change. Alright, so let's go. We have rally phase, and we have nothing to do in the rally phase actually. So let's go to the prep fire phase. So who is going to fire? I have two Shklovs. They are starting crew exposed and they are not moving. Now let's talk a bit about guns, vehicles being used to fire. There are three moments in the turn, in your turn, when your vehicle can fire. This is prep fire, prep fire phase, movement phase, and advancing fire phase. Prep fire phase is the best. Movement phase is the last phase you wanna to use your vehicle to fire at the enemy, because it is the hardest to score any hit when your vehicle is moving. Advancing fire phase is an option. It's an option if you cannot fire at the enemy during the prep fire phase, or if you want to move closer, and so and so. So we are starting with prep fire phase, and I think I will use this Shklovs to fire at this crew. Sorry, at this squad. They are in my covered arc range because my vehicle has its front here. So these two hexes, these three hexes are in their line of sight, and it targets this squad. This squad is in the stone building, so it won't be an easy job to do. Let's go through the entire procedure of checking and making fire with a vehicle. First, we need to check for our 2-hit number. We are targeting infantry on the 2 hexes range. So we are checking infantry target type on the range 0 to 6. This is 8, so our 2-hit number is 8. There are a couple modifiers for the 2-hit number, but 90% of them works on the higher range, starting with 13 hexes or more. So we don't have to care about them. Only if we would like to fire a smoke, we would get +2 modifier on such a range, but we are definitely not going to hit them with smoke. So our 2-hit number remains 8. And now there are 2 groups of die roll modifiers. First one is fire based 2-hit determination die roll modifiers. So they are based on the status that our vehicle is in. So, case A, fire outside, crew exposed, per hex point changed. So, if enemy is not in our covered arc and we want to change our covered arc, we have to use this case. Well, we don't have to worry about it. Enemy is in our covered arc. B. Fire in advancing fire phase without entering a new hex in the player turn. No, we are firing in the prep fire phase. C. Bounding fire. No, bounding fire is a fire if you are firing during the advancing fire phase. Bounding first fire. Bounding first fire happens when you are firing during the movement phase. So again, nothing like that. Motion non-stopped fire. No, we are starting as stopped. Pinned fire. No, we are not pinned. Fire within hex. No, we are targeting this hex. Intensive fire? No. Intensive fire happens when you lost your rate of fire, and even so you want to fire again. But we don't have to worry about it now. Deliberate immobilization. Deliberate immobilization happens when you face the enemy vehicle and you know that you are probably not strong enough to penetrate its armor, so you are going to target it, its wheels, its tracks, to immobilize it. And that's where you are using this case. Next case. Case H. Captured non-qualified infantry. Nope, we have a proper crew for this stock. Next, buttoned up armored fighting vehicles. No, we are starting crew exposed. That's why crew exposed is very useful, because when you are buttoned up, you get this negative modifier for the die roll modifier, but we are crew exposed. And there are some others that I'm not going even to talk about because they are very rarely used, but one of them is important: leadership. If we have a leader, we get his modifier. So for now our modifier is -1. Pretty good. Next group is target-based hit determination die rolls. Die roll modifiers. So these modifiers are based on our target. First, moving motion vehicle or dashing infantry. No, they are stopped. They are not moving. Defensive first fire versus moving vehicle. No, our target is infantry. First fire non-assault movement. No, this is prep fire phase. First fire movement in the open ground. No. Versus concealed target. No, they are not concealed. Point blank range. -1 and -2. And yes, we get -1. If we are targeting an enemy who is not moving, and we are on the range of -2, we get modifier -1. If it is on the range on the range of 1 hex, we get -2. So we get another -1. So now our total modifiers are -2. Bore sighted location? Nope. Acquired target? No, we don't have any target acquisition markers here so far. Target using hazardous movement? No. Target size modifier? No. TAM? Yes. It is in the stone building, so its TAM is 3. So we had -2, and now we have +3. So we have +1. Loss hindrance? No, there are no hindrance on our line of sight. So our total modifiers are +1. So we need to roll 7 or less to score a hit on this infantry. Okay, that's a miss. We have 11. So we failed to hit them. We get no rate of fire. So I mark them with prep fire, but we still are allowed to place target acquisition here. You can see that this shtuk has a letter of B, so I am placing a black, because black is cool, with -1 B on this hex. Okay, that's when it comes to the firing vehicle. We will fire our vehicles a lot during this scenario. So next I am going to fire here with this stack. I hope that my gun will do so, but it looks like it wasn't able. So what I have here, I have commander, medium machine gun, and squad. So I have 9, so it is column of 8, +3, -2. So it is 8 + 1. It is 6. So first of all, I have a rate of fire. because my medium machine gun gains it. And now 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 in the column of 8 is 1 MC. So they have to pass a morale check. Their morale is pretty high. We got 7 plus 1, it is 8, so they are pinned. And now I am allowed to fire again, because my machine gun gained rate of fire, so I have firepower of 5, minus 2 plus 3, so it's 4 plus 1. It is a miss. Okay, who's going to fire next? This Shtuk, I think it can see them, but remember that you have first to declare your shot, and then you have to check your line of sight. But I am certain that they can see them, so yes, so I declare another shot with this time with this Shtuk against these Soviets. Now I have to check line of sight. Well, it is. So let's calculate our modifiers. I think the situation is pretty much the same like here. No, it is not. Why? Because we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes range, so we don't get -1 modifier from the point blank. So our modifiers are -1 for the commander and +3 for the stone building. So it is +2. So we need to get 6 or less to score a hit. Okay, this is a miss. So prep fire and target acquisition. Anyone else? They are going to move. I'm not going to fire with them. They cannot see anyone. Okay, that's all for the prep fire phase. Let's go to the movement phase. I will start here, and I will take this squad with light machine gun with my commander. They move here onto this hex. It is 1 movement point, 3 movement point. They move here, and now these Soviets are allowed to fire at them, and that's what they're going to do. They have 8 plus 2 minus 1, so it's 8 plus 1. They got 9 plus 1, it is 10. 10 in the column of 8, it is a miss. So we get first fire and 4, and they are going to fire again, because they spent 2 movement points here. So now they have 4 plus 1. Let's see if they will be able to fire more effectively now. We got 7 plus 1, it is 8. 8 in the column of 4, again a miss. Well, that was an unlucky shot. Okay, now them. I will use a single squad with light machine gun. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. These Soviets are now allowed to fire again as their final protective fire. Do they want to? That's a good question, because it would force them to make a check with their infantry fire die roll. They have morale of 8, so the chance is pretty high that they will make it. Okay, let's go and do so. So it is 4 plus 2 minus 1. So it is 4 plus 1, and this is going to be morale check for Soviets. We got 7 plus 1, 8 plus 1. Yes, plus 1, and that's why they are broken. Okay, they weren't lucky squad, definitely. And we got 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 in the column of 4, it is a miss. So we have to place residual fire of 2. Okay, more Germans are coming. And I can remove this first fire. 1, 2, 3. Now they are in their line of sight, so these Soviets are firing. They have 4 and minus 2, because they are moving in the open ground with non-assault movement. Oh wow, this is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 in the column of 4 is 2 MC. This is going to hurt. It is 7, and plus 2 it is 9. So Germans are broken. Now this squad. 1, 2. I believe they can see them. So they declare their fire. So they have, there is 2 plus 4. So it is 6 minus 2. We got 8 plus 2. Sorry, minus 2, so it's 6 in the column of 6, it is 1 MC. We got 4, so they made it, but the 4 is also a number that we need to wake up enemy sniper. So let's make a roll for possible Soviet sniper activation. We got 2, so small sniper is waking. Let's make a roll, where, and 3 and 3. So he moves 1, 2, 3, and which German unit is closer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of these units are closest. So I need to check who is going to be a target. I'm going to make a roll, and if I roll 1, 2, 3 or 4 from here to there, it will be a result. 6, so no, and 1. So they are going to be their target, and it was small sniper, so they are pinned. Okay, they had 4, so they passed the check. I can mark them with residual fire of 2, and these Soviets with first fire. Okay, now this group, first them, they are moving here and then entering this hex. We still have one movement point here. And now, first, Soviet player must declare if he wants to fire at them or not. He says he doesn't want to because he wants to keep his concealment marker. But now, German player declares that he wants to do searching. Searching requires spending one movement point, and we have one movement point, and then to make 1d6 roll. Let me roll. We have 2. Okay, we have 2, and now we have to check for modifiers for searching die roll. We have -1 per each half squad equivalent. We have 4, so we have squad, so we have 2 half squads, so we have -2. Next, per stealthy searching unit, no, we don't have any stealthy. Stealthy is a status that you get thanks to the special scenario rules. Per leadership, we don't have leaders here. Per Lux or CX searching unit, we don't have any Lux. Lux is another status that you might get during thanks to the special scenario rules. And we don't have CX units here. And versus Japanese, well, we have no Japanese units. So we have -2, because we have 2 half squads here, meaning 1 squad. So 2 minus 2 is 0. This result is giving us a number of hexes around that we cannot search. So 2 minus 2 is 0, so we can search all the 6 hexes around our unit. And this means that we can reveal all the units with concealment on the hexes around. So this Soviet half squad loses its concealment. Okay, that's pretty good. So now they are moving next. 1, These Soviets might fire at them, but they are pinned, so their firepower will be halved, so they have 2 minus 2. We got 7 minus 2 is 5. 5 in the column of 2 is normal morale check. We got 5, so we made it. So let's mark this hex with residual fire of 1. They are getting first fire. And now 3, they are entering this hex. And now these Soviets have no problems with firing at them. They have 4, minus 1 because of non-assault movement, and plus 1 because of the woods. So it is 4 and 0. We got 8, and this is covering. Because of that we move to the column of 2, and 8 in the column of 2, it is a miss. Alright, so now we have this stack. I will move this group with a commander first. They are entering this hex. No one can fire at them. And then this hex. Now these Soviets are allowed to fire on them. They have 4. They already fired with first fire and gained no rate of fire, so they cannot use their light machine gun now. So they have 4. It is doubled and halved, so it is 4 again. 4 plus 3 and minus 1. So it is 4 plus 2. Now that's pretty good roll. 7. 7, it is 7 in the column of 4. It is pin test check only. Okay. German commander, he's fine. His men, 7. But we have minus 3 because of the commander, so they are fine. So let's mark them with the 2. And these Soviets are marked with final fire. Okay, and the last squad. And our last squad goes 1, 2. Well, this Soviet group with ATR might fire at them. They also might fire at them, but it could be their final protective fire. So it is very risky. So I will try to fire with them. They have 2. I'm not going to use ATR. It would provide me nothing, and there's always a risk of damaging it. So no, I am firing with 2 minus 2. Oh, good. We have 5 minus 2. It is 3. 3 in the column of 2. It is 1 MC. 8. And it is 1 MC, so it is 9. So they are broken. First fire, first fire. And that's all for the German movement. Yes, that's all for the German movement phase, so I can remove these residual fires now. Time for the Soviet defensive fire phase. Well, who's going to fire? Soviets are mostly first fired, so they can still fire on the adjacent hexes, but, well, let's try. I will fire here. So I have 2. And I fire with the firepower of 2 on this hex. So it's 2 plus 1. 8, a miss. Next, I will try to fire here. I have 4. 9, a miss. They have final fire, so they cannot fire. And they are going to fire here, but they are pinned. So, they have 4. They are halved because of the first fire, so it's 2. They are halved again because of the pin, so it's 1. And they are doubled because of firing on the adjacent hex, so they have 2. So they fire on this hex with a firepower of 2 and minus and plus 1 because of the woods. 8, it is a miss. So that's all for the Soviet defensive fire. And next we have German advancing fire phase. Okay, I will start here. I have 7, it is halved and doubled, so it is again 6 plus 2, 3 and minus 1. So it is 6 plus 2, 6 plus 2. Oh hell, my light machine gun is broken. I'm going to place it like that to remember about it. They will try to do the same, fire at them with 6, but this is 6 plus 3. We have 8 in the column of 6. It is, well, pin test check, so nothing, actually, because they are already broken. Now them. I think that they can do some good because of their commander, so, but they have medium machine gun, so they cannot fire with it. So they have 4 plus 3 and minus 3. So it is 4, 7 in the column of 4. It is pin test check. So Soviets have to undergo pin test check. They got 9, so they are pinned. At last. Here I am going to form a fire group, so I have 4 and 4. I am not using light machine gun, so I have 8 plus 3. I got 6 plus 3, it is 9, so pin test check. 10, so they are pinned. And I think that's all for the prep fire. Yes, that's all for the prep fire. So I can remove, advancing fire, so I can remove all the prep fire markers from the board. Alright, next is a road phase. Germans are going to road first. So they are routing here. They are in the line of sight of the enemy, so they have to undergo interdiction roll, and they failed. Because of that, they have to suffer a reduction. So let's change them with a half squad, and then they go into this building. Alright, who's going to retreat next? Them. They are entering, they are routing here. And now Soviets. This unit routes onto this hex. They are pinned, they are pinned, they are pinned. So that's all for the for the road. That's all for the road. And next we have advance phase. Pretty important thing. Your vehicles cannot move during the advance phase. They can only switch their status from crew exposed to bayonet up or else, but they cannot retreat. So I am going to make a movement. They are entering here. I will leave my commander on this hex and they will enter this one. They are entering this hex and they are marked with close combat. Close combat site. They are entering this hex and they are also marked with close combat, and they are entering this hex also with close combat. Soviet units are pinned here, so I should be able to take care of them. This infantry moves here, and that's all for my advance phase. Well, they are pinned, so they cannot move. And let's go to the close combat phase. I will start here. Let's mark this hex with close combat to remember about it, that we are fighting here. And now let's check who do we have here. We have Soviet squad, which is pinned, and German squad with -3 commander. So let's make a roll for ambush. I got 6 for Germans, 2 for Soviets. And now modifiers. there are a bunch of modifiers for this. First, there is +1 for Soviets because they are pinned, so they have 3 now, and there is -3 for commander, so it turns into 3 and 3. Because of that, no ambush. And now Soviet unit is pinned. Because of that, their strength is halved. So I am fighting with 4 against 2, with -3 modifier for the commander. Let's make a roll. I got 6 -3. So it's 3, so Soviets are eliminated. Let's make a roll for them. 5. It was 1 to 2, so it is nothing. So Soviets are eliminated. We can leave their light machine gun here. And all the other counters are out. So that was a successful close combat. Next close combat goes here. We have German squad against Soviet half squad, which is also pinned. So another ambush roll. 3 to 2. And Soviets Soviets are pinned, so again no ambush. Okay, so now we have 4 against 2, but they are halved because of being pinned. So they have 1. So it is 4 to 1 for Germans. I got 5, so the Soviets are eliminated, and Soviets have 1, so they need 3 or less. Oh, well, they weren't far, but still they failed. So one more successful battle, and this building is captured by Germans. So this is first building we needed to capture, and final combat goes here. We have 4 against 4, but one more time Soviets are pinned. So you can see that this pinned status, which is sometimes seen as very useless, can be quite useful as well. Okay, ambush roll. 3 and 3, no ambush. And now Germans have 4, Soviets have 2, so I need to roll 7 or less for Germans. I got 7. 7 because Soviets are halved. And now Soviets, they have 1 to 2, so they need 4. They got 9, so nothing. And now this pin is removed, but this close combat is going to continue. So let's leave this target acquisition marker here. And now that's all for the close combat, so we can remove pin markers from the board. And this is the finish of the German actions in this turn. We are starting the Soviet part. First, rally phase, so wind change. 3, no wind change, but it was close. And next we have to rally our broken units. First, this one. 5, I have 6, plus 4, -1 because of the commander, and -1 because of the building, so it's 8. So they are rallied. Good. Now I'm going to repair this machine gun. Nothing. And they cannot be rallied. So I can only remove this marker. And now here. I have this broken squad, but I have a commissar. Commissar allows me to ignore a desperation morale marker. And that was a good choice. So they are alright. Thanks to the wisdom of the communist doctrine of their commissar. Okay, I think that's all. I don't have any other things to do. Yes, that's all. So now let's go to the Soviet prep fire phase. And who is going to fire and where? I think them. The question is if I want both of them to fire at one hex or each of them firing on the separate hex. I think I will risk and try to fire each of them on the separate hex. So this unit with a commissar fires here and the other fires there. So first here I have 4, so it's 8 plus 3 because of the stone building. I have 7 plus 3, it is 10, so it is a miss. And the other squad fires here. Oh, another miss. Okay, it wasn't a good idea at all. Next. Well, all these Soviet units are concealed. If they will decide to fire at the enemy, they will lose their concealment. So the question is if I want to do it. I will start here. I have 2 plus 3. 4. Okay, 4 plus 3, it is 7. 7 in the column of 2, sadly a miss. So I have no choice. I am removing concealment and I will fire with 8 plus 3 minus 3. So it's 8 without modifiers and 8. This means that this is normal morale check. So commander, he made it. Soldiers 10, but they have now minus 3 because of their commander, so they made it. So it is a miss, and that's all for the prep fire phase. Next we have movement phase. I don't think that Soviets are going to move anywhere, so no movement phase for Soviets. And next we have defensive fire phase. So who is going to fire and where? These two guys are firing at them. So I have 4 and 7. So it is 11. It is doubled because of the adjacent hex. So it is 22. So column of 20 plus 3 because of the stone building. 6. 6 plus 3, it is 9. 9 in the column of 20 is 1 MC. So, Commissar, he's fine. First unit, 8, it is pinned. And the other unit, 9 plus 1, it is broken. So they weren't. They were all right for the really short time. And now they are marked with final fire. Any of my Shtuks? I believe none. No. Of course, they can fire here, but they would target their own soldiers, and that's something they doesn't want to. They don't have any enemy units in their covered arc, so they cannot fire. They are targeting this hex. So what do I have here? 5 plus 4. So it's 8 plus 3 and minus 3. So it's 8 and 0. 8, normal morale check. So, Soviet commander, he made it. His soldiers, they made it. It is pretty hard to break a unit with minus 3 commander. Oh, sorry. Now, they might try to fire here, but they are concealed, so I believe this is not a good idea. I will otherwise try to fire here. I have 6 and plus 3. 5 plus 6, it is 8, so it is spin test check. Commander, he is fine. Soldiers, 12. They are pinned actually. Yes, they are. They should be grateful that it wasn't a morale check, because if it would be morale check but not pin check, they would suffer a reduction. And is that all? I believe yes. I believe that's all for the defensive fire phase. So let's get rid of this. Next we have advancing fire phase. No advancing fire phase for Soviets. And next we have a road phase. And this squad here is broken and it needs to road. So I will take Commissar with them and I am routing here. So I have to undergo interdiction. 7, they are fine. So they are retreating here. And that's all for the road phase. Yes, that's all for the road phase. Next we have Soviet advance phase. I don't think Soviets are about to advance anywhere, so let's go to this close combat. We have 4 against 2, so Germans 3, they made it. Soviets 4. Oh. Let me check. It is 4 in the 1 to 2. Yes, Germans suffer reduction. So at last they had their revenge. I can remove this marker. And now I can remove all the pin markers from the board. And this concludes turn 1. And now at the end of turn 1, at the end of the turn, I might check if there are any units that can gain concealment because they are out of enemy line of sight. I believe none of the Soviet units that are already not concealed have such ability because they are all in the enemy line of sight. So that's all for the turn 1, and I think this is a good moment to finish this video. I mean this part of the video, and we will return in the next part of the video of this video.